Hi friends, let's talk about pushing and a little bit on preventing tears during birth. So there are so many different ways that you could be supported as you push your baby into the world. There is directed pushing, there is gentle guidance, and then there is like really to be undisturbed and to just follow your own body. So what we've commonly seen in movies and media, and what the typical way that we see women and people being supported in pushing their baby out, is by being instructed to hold your legs back, to get on your back, and to hold your breath, bear down, engage your tummy muscles, and push your baby out to the count of 10. This is called directed pushing. And though in some cases directed pushing can be helpful, like if a baby were to need to be born faster, so they were trying to expedite delivery, but otherwise, in most circumstances, directed pushing is not helpful. It can increase the risk for tearing, and it can increase the risk of pain. It can increase the risk of the person giving birth to feel like things are happening to them and they don't have a lot of agency. And also it can increase the risk for exhaustion. Also, there is somewhat of a timeline when you're pushing baby to be aware of, because you don't want to be pushing baby for many, many hours. It's very common to push your baby for 1 or 2 hours. It's also possible to only push for a few minutes. And that just kind of varies person to person based on their anatomy and the way the baby is coming out and their position and your position and all these things. But what I see happen sometimes is that providers will do a cervical exam and they'll say, oh, you're 10 centimeters dilated. Let's start pushing now. What happens then is that you might be actively pushing, engaging your tummy muscles and like trying to push your baby out and holding your breath while people are telling you to count to 10 before your body is actually ready to push. Because even though you're 10 centimeters, it doesn't mean that your baby is actually ready to come into the vaginal canal and start coming out. They might need another 10 or 20 minutes or so to get a little lower to stimulate the fetal ejection reflex to support your body in spontaneously pushing your baby out. So one thing you can consider doing, even if you have an epidural or you don't have an epidural, is to wait a little while until your body starts to spontaneously push your baby out instead of adding effort and pushing when you're 10 centimeters. When it comes to gentle guidance, this is something that I see a lot of care providers do who work at a hospital, like midwives, and I found it to be one of my favorite ways to support people through the pushing phase, and here's why. When someone is receiving gentle guidance, they're often being encouraged to listen to their own body and to push in whatever way feels best to them. If they feel like they need a suggestion or support, they can receive the use of different tools and props to help them get into a position that feels most comfortable for them. Gentle guidance can also sometimes look like some words of encouragement, like you're doing so good, your baby is almost here, things like that. With gentle guidance, you're able to receive support in alignment with your preferences and your values, and to be able to listen to your body and push in the way that feels most optimal for you. So why would you not want to like engage your tummy muscles and like push really hard to try to get your baby out, if that's what like most people are doing? Most of the time when the baby enters the vaginal canal, they put pressure on a pressure point inside of the vagina. And this is called the Ferguson reflex. Another man who like said he discovered a thing and then named himself after it. Really, it's just a reflex point that encourages your body to start pushing on its own. So just like sneezing or throwing up or anything else that the body spontaneously does without any conscious effort or control, your body most of the time will do this as well. And so if you were to experience the fetal ejection reflex, pushing your baby out is much more of a surrender, a softening, and allowing your baby to come out, rather than adding extra force. So what does that look like? What this looks like is to first release any resistance or need to control, need to speed it up or slow it down. This can feel a little hard for some people who are feeling overwhelmed emotionally about the feelings that they're experiencing as baby is coming into their vagina, being ready to be born. We might feel the desire to add extra force to the spontaneous efforts our body is already giving us. And so that means that we'll engage our diaphragm and like actively push in addition to the uterus contracting and pushing baby out. When we do this, we can potentially speed up the pushing process, and that can lead to tearing. So doing emotional preparation work beforehand and having tools to support you in the pushing process is super helpful. And making sure that that you're birthing in an environment and with a team who you align with, who you feel respects you and respects your autonomy, and where you have many different coping options available so that you can push in a way that really feels best to you. All those things can really help you push and deliver your baby in a slow and controlled way. The next is to soften your pelvic floor. So if you're sitting down right now and you feel the pressure on your bottom surrounding the whole area where your vagina is and your urethra, that whole area is connected through basically like a hammock of muscles that are responsible for spinal health, organ health, and so much more. So your pelvic floor isn't like pushing your baby out. It's your uterus that pushes your baby out, but your baby does pass through your pelvic floor. And so a lot of women are focused on doing Kegels and tightening the pelvic floor and having a tight vagina. That's a very common narrative that I see, is to like be tight, or whatever that means. And tightness is not necessarily a good thing, because if you have too much tension in your pelvic floor, that can impact baby's position, it can impact your comfort during labor, it can increase your risk for tearing, and it could lead to other pelvic floor health consequences. But if there is a lack of strength, that can also have a negative impact on birth and postpartum. So paying attention to your pelvic floor and feeling it as a clock, imagining maybe the top of your pelvic floor by your pubic bone is like 12 o'clock, and moving all the way down throughout the whole pelvic floor in a circle with your awareness can help you to start to develop a relationship with your pelvic floor. And when you develop a relationship with your pelvic floor, when the baby is passing through it, you have more awareness and more connection to it, and you're more able to deliberately soften those muscles and relax them. And you can work with your pelvic floor before you go into labor to make sure that there isn't a lot of tension on one side or a lack of strength on another side. And one of the ways that I invite you to start doing this is to listen to the pelvic floor guided meditation in my birth course. If you're not watching this in my group, then the link is in the description below. This is a practice that will help you develop that relationship with your pelvic floor. So as you go into the birth experience, when you feel the pressure of your baby's head moving through your pelvic floor, you have more of a relationship with those muscles, and you're able to soften them and allow them to sort of melt to the side and allow your baby to pass